Alrighty, thanks guys for joining the webinar today. We'll just wait for a couple of more people to join in and then we'll get started. So today we're going to be talking about golf nutrition, specifically how your nutrition affects your performance. So my name's Miall. I'm the head dietitian here at Precision Athletica. So yeah, let's get started and I'll take you through it. So a little brief thing about me and who I am. I'm an accredited practicing dietitian and sports dietitian, and also a level 1 anthropometrist. I'm the head dietitian at Precision Athletica, as well as Precision Physio as well. I'm an experienced clinical and sports dietitian, so I've worked in a lot of high performance sports centres, as well as the VFL, which is the Victorian Football League. I'm also a published researcher, so I did a lot of my studies at Monash University, and I looked into research investigating gut training in endurance athletes, and that research has since been published in the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine. I'm recently new to Sydney. End of last year I moved up here, so I relocated from Melbourne. So today's webinar, here are the topics that we're going to be covering. So essentially we're going to be looking at nutrition for your performance as a golfer. So what you eat affects your performance, what a golfer's diet should look like, the right amount of fluids when you're playing, tailoring your nutrition plan for training, competition, and also your rest days as well, and the often overlooked ingredients which can lead to great performance. So here at Precision Athletica, it's not just your training that's going to get you to where you want to be, and it's not just your talent either. We also need to consider other different aspects, and they will be your mind flow, your physicality, your recovery, as well as your fuel, which is obviously the key point we're going to be talking about today. So a little brief outline of what we'll be covering today. We're going to talk about the importance of diet for your health and performance, energy and macronutrients, so factors affecting your nutritional needs, the go foods, so carbohydrates, the grow foods, protein, fats, as well as pre, during, and post-training competition nutrition. So if you look at this picture here, how would you build a pyramid? Well, building a pyramid, obviously we'd want a really strong base to start off from. You need that strong base to be able to start then to go looking at the top. So we need that balanced diet to be a key part of our nutrition. Then we can start focusing on things like sports nutrition, and then later than that, supplements. So it's just all about getting the basics right. Having a balanced diet, sleeping, so about 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night, putting 100% into every session, focusing on your strength and conditioning, focusing on your psychology and mind flow as well as your overall lifestyle will all influence how good you're going to be as an athlete. So let's discuss daily training requirements. Your daily training requirements food-wise need to provide enough energy and nutrients to meet the demands of training and exercise. We need to enhance adaptation and recovery between our sessions, include a wide variety of foods from all the 5 food groups, and enable you to achieve optimal body weight and body fat levels for performance. We also need to provide adequate fluids to ensure maximum hydration before, during, and after exercise, as well as promote short and long-term health for all athletes as well. So what does it mean to have poor nutritional practices, and how do you know if your current nutritional practices are quite poor? One will be under-eating or overeating. You will be eating a lot of foods with a poor nutritional profile, so a lot of high fat, high sugar, high sodium foods. And short-term poor nutrition can contribute to stress, tiredness, and our capacity to train and perform. In the long term, it can contribute to risk of developing some illnesses and other health problems like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, being overweight or obese, having heart disease or stroke, developing type 2 diabetes, even developing things like depression as well. And poor diet is a factor in 1 in 5 deaths worldwide. So we can definitely see that diet is a crucial factor to everyone. So what does a balanced diet consist of? Well, when we think about a balanced diet and what it consists of, we look to the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating. So for our age group, which will roughly be between 80 to 50 years of age, we need 6 serves of veggies per day, a serve equating to half a cup of vegetables or 1 cup of salad, and only 2% of us are meeting these requirements. So we're definitely not getting in enough vegetables. Additionally, fruit-wise, we need 2 serves per day, and only 40% of us are meeting these requirements. Fruit and veg providing a lot of vitamins and minerals as well as fibre, which is really important for our health. Whole grains also provide a really good amount of fibre, really good for our digestive health, but provide a lot of carbohydrates, which we'll discuss later, which are our go foods, our fuel foods for our exercise. We need about 6 serves of whole grains per day. A serve equating to 1 slice of bread, half a cup of rice, or a cup of pasta. Now, your needs may be slightly different. Potentially they're higher than this 6 serves because you're exercising so much. And this kind of specificity is when you go see a sports dietitian to really work out how much you need. This is the same with lean meat and or alternatives. If we're wanting to get some good muscle hypertrophy, so some good muscle growth occurring, generally you will need more than the recommended 3 serves per day of protein. And again, this specificity is best to discuss with your sports dietitian. Dairy products and or alternatives. So dairy, really important source of calcium, really good to help keep our bones strong and prevent injuries like stress fractures. And we need about 2.5 serves per day, a serve equating to a cup of low-fat milk or a small container of yogurt, or maybe 2 slices of cheese. Now, if you currently don't eat dairy and you're opting for alternatives like soy milk, almond milk, or any of the above, just make sure that it has been fortified with calcium. It will have this on the ingredients list, so it will say on the back of the nutrition information panel in the ingredients list, calcium or calcium phosphate or mineral calcium. It will say calcium in there somewhere. So just make sure that your alternative is fortified. So what should we've got all your serves of the 5 food groups, but what should your dinner plate or lunch plate be looking like? So a lot of us in Australia will opt for a plate A style plate. So a lot of white starchy carbs, really big serve of protein, maybe a sprinkling of veg. But what we really need, we need a plate looking more like a plate B. Half our plate is veggies and or salad, 1/4 of the plate some lean protein, and then another 1/4 of the plate some good low GI whole grain carbohydrates, which will keep our blood sugar levels nice and stable and also give us that fuel to perform. If there's not much you take out of today's webinar, just try and focus your plates to be more like plate B than plate A. That's a huge thing that's going to increase the nutritional adequacy of your diet. So we've got our 5 food groups, but there are obviously some foods which fall outside of these key 5 food groups, and those foods are known as discretionary foods. These are foods like chocolate, chips, lollies, pies, some may say all the good things in life, alcohol, soft drinks, and we obviously need to limit these as much as possible as they're highly processed and they contain little to no nutritional value. High amounts of calories, saturated fat, added sugars, and added salt as well. We need to limit ourselves to roughly 1 serve of discretionary foods per day, which is equivalent to about 600 kilojoules or 140 calories. And this could be maybe a couple of sweet biscuits, a small container of fried chips, maybe a drink of alcohol or a small can of soft drink. But again, we're limiting this to no more than 1 per day. And if you really do want to get the most out of your performance, you may not even opt to have these discretionary choices either. Alcohol. So let's touch on alcohol. A lot of us do enjoy a beverage occasionally, and obviously this is for more of the over 18s who are watching. Now, excess alcohol consumption contributes to more than 200 different types of disease. Alcohol is detrimental to sports performance as it can lead to dehydration. And hydration helps maintain your body temperature and the flow of blood through your body. And this flow of blood is really important at providing oxygen and nutrients to help us perform as well. It also interferes with the way your body makes energy. So when you're metabolizing alcohol, your body can't make as much glucose, which can lead to low blood sugar, which again can lead to detriments in performance, particularly mental clarity and skill execution as well. So what are the current recommendations? Well, the current guidelines are no more than 2 standard drinks on any day and no more than 4 standard drinks on any occasion. So what is a standard drink? You can look to this picture on the right. You can see that a glass of wine, for example, glass of red wine, standard pour of 150 ml is 1.5 standard drinks. Now, if you're at home and you've got a heavier hand, so you may have a 200 ml glass, that's already your 2 standard drinks done for the day. So just keep that in mind that alcohol is very detrimental to performance. Additionally, it's very calorific. A lot of people don't know that it's actually the alcohol, not what you necessarily mix it with, that is really calorific. So it can lead to a lot of central adiposity, so a lot of weight gain around the stomach area. And additionally, as a golfer, this isn't good because it can limit our movement. So it can limit how you're stroking the ball as well. So we definitely want to get the skin folds down around the abdomen, and avoiding alcohol or limiting our alcohol will help us do this. So let's start discussing energy and macronutrients. So with our calories each day, or our kilojoules that we're consuming, this should provide adequate support for our growth and development needs while maintaining the desired energy expenditure. So our energy or calorie needs each day depend on how much energy we're burning. And this also can depend on a range of factors as well. So including how active you are in your daily activities, the amount and type of exercise you do, your height and weight, your sex, your body composition, your age. So if you're younger, you tend to burn more calories than when you're older, as well as your genetics and health status. So sometimes we could have an underlying genetic condition which could lead us to have a higher metabolism or potentially even a slower metabolism as well. To get these real specifics out of what you need per day, again, this is probably where you need to go see a dietitian, but just keep in mind that all these factors are influencing how much you need to have per day. And ideally, your energy intake should mirror your training schedule. All right, so let's talk about carbohydrates, otherwise known as the go foods. So what are the key roles? They're our primary energy source. They support training intensity and quality. They sustain concentration and decision making, and they help us support our skill execution, all very important in golf. Additionally, training with high carbohydrate stores via good meal choices and meal timing ensures training intensity and quality is sustainable throughout the session. And keep in mind that poor fueling can lead to fatigue, poor skill execution, and poor recovery as well. So there are 2 different types of carbohydrates. We have our fast release or our high GI, and we have our slow release known as our low GI. I'm not sure about how much you all know about GI, but briefly, GI stands for something called glycemic index. And all it refers to is the effects that these sugars or carbohydrates have on your blood glucose levels. If it's got a high effect, then it's digested and absorbed rapidly, causing a sharp increase in your blood glucose and energy. If it's got a slow effect, it's a more sustained release of energy. So rather than the big sharp peak that you get from the high GI, the slow release is nice and slowly digested and absorbed, causing a gradual increase in blood glucose and a more sustained release of energy. So examples of some high GI foods are things like cornflakes, white bread, jasmine rice, sports drinks, and ripened bananas. And these are for when you need that quick boosting energy. You need that energy straight away. So you need that instant spike. This could be before a really hard training session if you haven't had time to have a good low GI carbohydrate meal 2 to 3 hours before. Otherwise, as golf is a slow burning sport, you typically need more of the low GI foods. So things like porridge, pasta, yogurt, fruit, and whole grain breads. So protein, the grow food, sorry. The key roles: supporting muscle turnover, muscle growth, otherwise known as hypertrophy, repairing damaged muscle fiber, reducing muscle soreness as well. So as the muscles are constantly breaking down and resynthesizing, when you eat protein, they start to synthesize, repair and grow. And this protein has been utilized, and this is when protein has utilized by the muscles begin to break down. So once we've used up all that protein, our muscles then start breaking down. So consequently, it's important to include protein in your meals and snacks. So each day the muscles are spending more time in a period of growth than they are breaking down. Again, good sources of protein, which we didn't really touch on there. We'll kind of go back because I didn't have a visual of what you should look for. Good sources of protein are things like lean meats, eggs, legumes if you're vegetarian, as well as tofu as well. Also fish and seafood are fantastic sources. Now let's talk about fats. Our fat requirements of athletes are pretty similar to those actually of non-athletes. We need 20 to 35% of our total daily calories coming from fat. It's recommended to not consume less than 15 to 20% of total calories from fat, because it is essential for many processes of the body, including cell membrane structure, absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, hormone regulation, brain health, and also energy for muscle metabolism as well. Athletes should focus on healthy unsaturated fats and consume minimal amounts of saturated fats. So what are unsaturated fats and what are saturated fats? So the healthy unsaturated fats are things like monounsaturated fat, so avocados, almonds, cashews and peanuts, as well as olive oil. And also our polyunsaturated fats, so things like omega-3s and omega-6s, which you may have heard of. Things like oily fish, so salmon, mackerel, tuna and sardines, tahini, which is a sesame seed spread, flax seeds and chia seeds, walnuts and Brazil nuts. Now, saturated fats are our unhealthy options, are generally coming from animal sources, so things like butter, ghee and lard, fried foods, full-fat dairy, also fatty meats, so meats that have a lot of visible fat on them. You want to go for lean cuts. But you also notice a plant-based source of coconut oil. So coconut oil has been deemed by some to be a health food, but it's not. You should definitely be aiming for olive oil instead of coconut oil, as coconut oil provides a lot of saturated fat and can be detrimental to our cardiovascular health. Hydration. So why is fluid important, especially when we're playing golf? Well, it maintains our blood volume and regulates body temperature. It replaces fluids lost through sweat. It also helps combat the reduction in physical and mental performance caused by dehydration. So how much fluid should you have and when? Well, we always need to start exercise hydrated, so aiming for a clear yellow urine. Now, a clear to light yellow urine. Now, sometimes the colour of urine can be a little bit deceptive, especially if you have things like Baroccas or any electrolyte tablets which can colour your urine. So just make sure you've had a good decent amount of water before you start playing. But avoid drinking excessive amounts before and during exercise, as this can lead to frequent urination and also gastrointestinal upset. Consider weighing yourself before and after exercise. So before and after you hit the gym, maybe weigh yourself, and you need to replace your losses by 150%. So if you lost 1 kilo in the session, you need to drink 1.5 liters after your session. And I'd try and get that in with a good 2 to 3 hour period after your exercise. You may also want to consider, especially in humid conditions, and now golf can be often played in some humid environments, so we need to consider some electrolytes sometimes. These electrolytes can help your body rehydrate more effectively on these warm weather days. And some of my favorite options are low sugar electrolyte replacements. So things like Boost tablets or Hydrolyte. So these can help you effectively rehydrate without providing too much of that high GI sugar. Now, I do understand some people find it a little bit difficult to eat on the course. So sometimes they like to kill 2 birds with 1 stone by rehydrating and refueling at the same time. And if you're going to do that, that's where you can use drinks like Gatorade and Powerade. Just keep in mind that they are providing more of that high GI energy, that quick burning energy. So you can get those peaks and troughs in your blood sugar levels. So we should be still having a couple of low GI snacks to help keep those blood sugar levels nice and stable and assist with our performance. So what should you eat when you're on the course? And well, pre-training, and then we'll get to on the course, sorry. Pre-training, why do we need to eat and drink? Well, we need to hydrate, and we also need to provide your body with energy to perform, have the mental clarity to execute moves, and also attenuate any fatigue. What should you drink before and after exercise? Before exercise, you need to drink some water. Like I said, not excessive amounts. That would be something like downing 1 liter just before you're about to go on the golf course, or you're about to go do a gym session or something like that. So make sure you just slow sips leading up to it throughout the day. Consume a low GI carbohydrate rich meal 2 to 3 hours before your training session. So we've already spoken about low GI carbs today. And limit the intake of fat and protein, especially if prone to any gastrointestinal discomfort during training. The increase in fat and protein can slow down your digestive system and can make you feel quite heavy before training. So avoiding things like eggs and bacon just before training. Examples of appropriate pre-exercise meals and snacks include cereal and low-fat milk, toast, muffins, crumpets, fruit salad and yogurt, pasta with tomato-based sauce, low-fat breakfast or muesli bar or porridge. Look, there are plenty of other examples of meals you can have, and maybe you already have a meal which you're really comfortable with and is currently working for you. So I would stick to something that your body already knows and it enjoys and you feel like you're getting enough energy from it. You do need to consider that you want to keep things pretty consistent between training days or just playing a full round of golf compared to tournaments. So you don't want to try anything new before you go to a tournament. You want to kind of keep that routine pretty consistent during your training. And that would be a consistent meal if you've got an early tee off, and then you may have a different meal if you've got a later tee off. So just some things to consider. So during training, what should we be having? Now, during moderate to intense exercise lasting more than 90 minutes, an intake of carbohydrate is required to top up blood glucose levels and delay our fatigue. The current recommendation suggests 30 to 60 grams of high GI carbohydrate is sufficient and can be in the form of lollies, sports gels, sports drinks, or maybe some sandwiches with white bread. Now, you may not be doing 90 minutes of moderate to intense exercise ever. So this means that you only really need to have water during your training. So moderate to intense exercise would be really hard, you're breathing hard. So really hard strength and conditioning, HIIT training, aerobic training. This doesn't include playing golf for more than 90 minutes. So like I said, if training is not intense, then you can sip water throughout your training. On the course is different, however, because we need to consider we could be missing a meal. So we need to make sure we're keeping those energy levels topped up, and we're also maintaining your concentration. So I recommend having a small healthy snack every 4 to 6 holes. It's important to do this. Some good options for on the course things like fresh fruit, simple sandwiches, so things like Vegemite, peanut butter, ham and cheese, nothing too crazy. Muesli bars and trail mix as well. Jerky is also a good option to have, and I quite like RX bars as well. Now, some of you may be saying, oh, I stop off and have a pie when I'm halfway around. Remember what I said about protein and fat. Pies have a decent amount of that protein and fat in them, and they can start slowing down your digestion, and also they can make you start feeling quite sluggish. It's also providing a fair bit of that high GI carbohydrate with the pastries. So you're not having the best balance of slow releasing energy providing foods, as opposed to if you were to have some fresh fruit, maybe just a simple whole grain sandwich or a muesli bar. So take these things into consideration next time you're on the course. If you feel like your energy and mental clarity is dropping and you do need a quick boost in energy, it is good to maybe keep some jelly beans or maybe some snakes in your bag, and maybe have 1 to 2 just to boost up those levels. Now, you also need to consider how well you've been hydrating as well. Perhaps you just haven't been hydrating enough and that's dropping in your mental clarity. So just take those into consideration before kind of popping the jelly beans. And I would only take them when you do need it. So post-training, we need to consider the 4 R's. We need to refuel, we need to repair, we need to rehydrate, and we need to rest. We need to refuel our body with carbohydrates. So we need to have some foods high in carbohydrate after we're finished training, but roughly aiming for 1 gram per kilogram of carbs per body weight. We need to repair our muscles with 20 to 40 grams of protein, so allow those adaptations and that muscle hypertrophy to occur. Some good examples of post-training meals could include stir-fried vegetables with chicken and basmati rice, salad with whole grain pasta and lean bolognese, roasted vegetables with sweet potato and pork fillet, salad sandwich with tuna. Half a plate should be vegetables, 1/4 of our plate should be protein, and 1/4 of the plate should be carbs. Remember back to that plate model I spoke about earlier. Additionally, we can have a thumb of fat. Remember how I spoke about fat can be really important for many of our bodily processes, including muscle metabolism as well. So we could have a thumb of olive oil, or maybe some avocado or some nuts and seeds on the side. Again, coming into this protein post-exercise, we've found that it's really important to optimize our muscle protein synthesis just after exercise. So we need to get in that 20 to 40 grams of high quality protein as soon as possible after training. Additionally, we need to make sure we're getting a good amount of leucine. Now, if you are having a meat-based source of protein, you definitely should be getting in enough leucine. If you're having a protein shake, please check the leucine on the label and make sure that you're getting in at least 3 grams per serve. And then we also need to make sure we're having regular meals. So protein every 3 to 4 hours. And again, that 20 to 40 grams. This again will make sure that we're spending more time in growth than we are in muscle breakdown. And this is probably the main thing I see with patients is they're getting in protein maybe, at 2 meals per day, but they're not really periodizing it throughout the day to get the most out of their recovery and the most out of their adaptation as well. Again, we need to rehydrate, as we've spoken about, replacing losses by 150%. So if you lost 1 kilo during training, you need to drink 1.5 litres to rehydrate. Like I said, it doesn't have to be straight away, but try and get it in within 2 to 3 hours after training. Rest, really important. We need to aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. As your body replaces and repairs damaged muscle fiber whilst you rest, if you don't rest, you're compromising this adaptation. So you're compromising how good results you are getting out of your training. And a little bit more about rest as well. We've actually found that protein before sleep can result in greater increases in muscle mass and strength. It's been found that a protein supplement, so 28 grams of protein plus 15 grams of carbs before sleep, this could be something like a protein shake with low-fat milk, or perhaps a cup of yogurt with a piece of fruit, something like that before we sleep. has an effective strategy to increase muscle mass and strength gains after resistance training exercise. So getting in that extra protein. We're about to go into an 8-hour fast. So we're topping up the levels just before we sleep to make sure we're spending all that time that we're sleeping in a growth period, repairing those muscles and getting the most adaptation out of our training as well. So just something to consider. Other considerations, one of my favorites, omega-3s. We've talked briefly about them today, but omega-3s are fantastic at boosting the immune system and also reducing inflammation. They also can help us lead to improved recovery because of this reduction in inflammation. Additionally, they're fantastic for our heart health and our mental health too. So what are great sources of omega-3s? My favorite source is oily fish. So things like salmon, sardines, mackerel and tuna. I'd be aiming for 2 to 3 serves of oily fish per week. Nuts like walnuts are fantastic. So are flax seeds, chia seeds and kidney beans too. So start thinking about incorporating some more of these into your diet. So what can you do today? You've taken in a lot of information today, but what are some key points that you can take home? Increase those veggies. So many of my patients and athletes just aren't getting enough veggies in. That's a lack in a lot of vitamins and minerals that we're missing out on, and as well as fiber as well for our digestive health and our microbiome. So we need to make sure half our lunch plate and dinner plate is vegetables and or salad. And we need to mix it up. So mix up the diversity and the intake of your veggies to be able to feed your microbiome or the bacteria in your gut different foods so that they can grow and thrive. And I know I haven't spoken too much or at all about the microbiome today, but it's shown to have very good benefits on our mental health, our overall health, our weight, and our immune health as well. So it's very important to start considering mixing up your veggies and fruit as well in your diet. And we're aiming for 30 grams of fiber per day. We need to follow the 4 R's. We need to refuel. Remember to refuel with carbohydrate after your session. We need to repair our muscles with 20 to 40 grams of protein. We need to rehydrate with 150% of whatever our body weight's lost. So if you've lost a kilo, drink 1.5 litres. And we need to rest, aiming for 7 to 8 hours of rest per night. Maybe considering getting in some protein before you sleep as well to help further with that adaptation of muscle growth. And include some omega-3s. Get some oily fish in, have some walnuts, try some chia seeds, kidney beans or flax seeds, as they're great for recovery, our cardiovascular health, inflammation and our mental health as well. So thank you so much for joining in today. I hope you've all taken something out of this webinar. In the link that you would have been sent, you will have access to my email, which is just atlanta.m@precisionathletica.com.au. So you can send me through an email if you've got any questions, or maybe you want to consider having a consultation. But if you're thinking about focusing a little bit more on your game and that maybe you're thinking now, actually I do need to consider my diet a little bit more, I would consider seeing a dietitian or particularly a sports dietitian in your area. Like I said, you can come see me at Precision Athletica. Hope you all have a wonderful day and thank you so much for listening.